The 2024 NFL season is almost underway. Today I am going to do a tier list of all of the league quarterbacks. Let's get right into this. Hey, what's good, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is our 2024 NFL tier list. All of the quarterbacks are on here. Most of them are just the starters. There's a couple backups in here, though, that we are going to rank on here as well. But we are really here for most of the big names. And yeah, I counted this, there's like 40 quarterbacks on here or something. So we're going to be here for a while ranking these guys. So let's get started. Top of the list here is, of course, the number one overall draft pick, the 2024 draft, Caleb Williams. Now, this is going to be a pretty common theme, I think, throughout this tier list, is that rookie quarterbacks are pretty much going to hover all the way around C tier, maybe a couple in B tier, but that's simply because we haven't seen them play in the NFL yet, and this tier list is going to be a combination of how I think they'll do this year and how they've done in the past and how they're continuing to grow as a quarterback. And Caleb Williams, it's hard to tell. It's really, really hard to tell. I don't honestly know how well he's going to do this season, but I also have to look at his college career because that's all I have to draw off of. And, former Heisman winner still had a very solid season last year. But it's hard to tell. Is it going to be a boom? Is it going to be a bust? What's he going to do? I think I'm going to put Caleb Williams right in the middle in B tier. I don't want to start off too controversial here and put him up in A tier. I also don't want to put him too low in C tier. I think B tier is a really good spot for him just because he's really good, really good prospect. Probably going to be the best rookie quarterback out of this class. I know that's probably a hot take. And he's got a lot of good weapons in Chicago. So I think Caleb Williams, very solid spot in B tier. I think he'll have, your standard rookie season. I think he'll be, a B plus quarterback. Think reminiscent of like CJ Stroud last year. He'll have a really solid year, I think. I don't know if he'll have a year up to the level of CJ Stroud, but I guess we'll find out. Secondly, oh boy, Tommy DeVito, the legend himself. I don't know if he'll get any playing time over Daniel Jones. And as much as he's a legend, I mean, there's really no debating this. He's Z tier. He's a backup quarterback. Really liked some of the stuff that he did when he played, but at the end of the day, he's also got Daniel Jones in there. So Daniel Jones, his ranking will come later. That's for sure. Next up, Drake May on the Patriots. Now, there's been a lot of talk around Drake May about how good he's looked in preseason, which I definitely agree with. He's looked solid, but there's also been debate about, he still hasn't won the starting job over Jacoby Brissett. I think at the end of the day, Drake May will probably get that starting job. At the very least, he'll play most of the season. If he starts week 1 or not is to be determined. But I don't know about Drake May, especially not in the Patriots system. The Patriots have a defensive mind and a defensive-minded coach. They're very strong there, but their offense is not really great ever since Tom Brady left, so that leaves a lot to be desired. I'm going to put Drake May in C tier. Potential for a really good season, but also potential for him to be the next Mac Jones on the Patriots. I know that I'm probably going to get flack for that, but that's just the truth. Joe Flacco. Currently the backup for the Indianapolis Colts, I believe. Last year, really good year. Led the Browns in the playoffs. Looked pretty solid there. But I also have to think it's Joe Flacco. We are well past his prime. He is not the same guy he used to be, and he's a backup quarterback now. So yeah, I'm going to put him also in C tier. I think he's much better as a backup than DeVito. That's not even close. Unless Anthony Richardson gets injured again, he's not going to play much. He's really not. Next up, Justin Fields. I'm also going to bring Russell Wilson over here. I'm going to do these two right together. This is a tough one. This is a really tough one because I like Justin Fields. I hope they give him time to start a quarterback. I know they're probably going to go with Russell Wilson. Steelers offense, Again, another defensive team. Russell Wilson has not looked good his last couple seasons. I really don't know where to put him. I'm honestly going to put Russ and Justin Fields both in C tier for right now. I think there's more potential if Fields plays for him to go up than there is for Russell Wilson if he plays to go up. I think Russ is washed, or at least he's on the downtrend. I don't have a lot of faith in Russell Wilson. I don't know fully what he's going to do. Steelers' offense is just not the best fit for him. It's really not. But we will see what happens with him. Last year's number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young on the Carolina Panthers. It's a tough situation for Bryce. I mean, he really could do well, I think, with the Carolina Panthers roster, with how they've been doing. It will be interesting to see how Bryce Young does in this offense. They did pick up Deontay Johnson, which is big. They do have Adam Thielen and Jonathan Mingo still as well. But, again, it's the Panthers, and the Panthers are not great right now. They just aren't. Their offensive line is incredibly mid. Their defense doesn't have any really big stars on it anymore. I mean, they do have some solid players, but, you know, the number 1 at every position is solid or not so much, but after that, it kind of really falls apart to the point where I don't know how deep they're going to go. I'm going to put Bryce Young in C tier as well. I want to see him do well, I really do, but he's small. He's not on a great team, and I just think this is going to he'll be better than last year. I 100% think he'll be better than last year now that he's had a year under his belt, but I still think he's going to struggle on the Panthers. Seahawks and Sam Howell. Sam Howell was not too bad. He really wasn't too bad in Washington. He just was on the Commanders, which is not a good situation, and had no weapons. If he was on the Commanders this year, I think he would have a really solid season with all the weapons that they've picked up. But he's now going to back up for Geno Smith, and that means he'll go to C tier. I like Sam Howell. I think he is a very serviceable backup if Geno gets injured. Like, Sam Howell will be solid, you know, with him at quarterback, and then obviously with Kenneth Walker at the running back. I think he could get them some wins, that duo, but, you know, he's not a season-long quarterback, at least for the Seahawks, when you have somebody like Geno Smith sitting there. Do I really even need to debate this? Patrick Mahomes is S tier, and this is probably going to be the very controversial part for most people, but he is my only S tier quarterback on this list. Now, that doesn't mean A tier is not going to be really populated, and there's some that could make the argument for S tier. But at the end of the day, who is the man that, you know, is always in the AFC Championship, has back-to-back Super Bowls now, and has a great chance at winning a third? If you're talking fantasy, Patrick Mahomes would probably be in B tier because he's not a great fantasy quarterback. But he's also probably the best quarterback in the league, if not the best quarterback of this generation. You know, this is the after Tom Brady generation. Patrick Mahomes is one of the best and will go down already as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I think he's got more Super Bowls under his belt. Do they win it this year? I don't know. This last year was not the last Super Bowl the Chiefs have ever won. That's just a fact. Oh, good old number 8, Mr. Aaron Rodgers himself, who played one drive last year and missed the entire season with an injury. Now, the meme going around is that his other Achilles could do the funniest thing ever this year, and he sits out another year. I don't think that's going to be the case, but we're past Aaron's prime. We are way past Aaron's prime. He's on the Jets, and he just is coming off an Achilles injury. He's getting older. I'm going to put him B tier. Out of respect for Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to put him B tier. I think he'll have a solid season, especially because of the weapons they have on offense. You know, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. That offense is going to be tough to stop. The Jets are going to be very effective and very solid this year. I almost said very good, but I don't know how I feel about them being very good. I think they'll be solid. I really think they'll have a solid season. You know, picking up Mike Williams, also having Allen Lazard. You know, there's potential here for the Jets to be good. And I think Rodgers, third best quarterback in his division, yes. But that doesn't mean he's not top 20. Top 20? I don't think top 20 is unrealistic at this stage, but Aaron Rodgers is definitely not getting better as the years go on. You know, Father Time catches up with everybody, and Aaron Rodgers is definitely coming up on that time. Bailey Zappi, I don't know why Bailey Zappi's on here. I really don't. Serviceable, but, I mean, he's now behind Drake May, and Jacoby Brissett, and maybe even Joe Milton. I honestly think he'll be Patriots' fourth string. I really do. I think Joe Milton's actually proving himself pretty good. Here is where things will probably get a little controversial. Tua Tagovailoa. Great. Okay. He's a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. But I have to question how he plays in big games. I really, really do. The Dolphins are a great team and have the potential to go deep into the playoffs with the stars that they have. However, I haven't seen enough proof yet that Tua's the guy to lead them. I haven't. When you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, like, you've got the weapons on offense to where there's really not a lot for you to do aside from deliver a decent pass and your receivers will make the plays. They have Odell. They have Braxton Berrios. They have Jonnu Smith. Like, I'm going to put Tua in B tier. The high B tier, I will say, if he has another really, really good season and maybe even wins a playoff game, moving up to A tier. But for now, I've got to put him B tier. I just haven't seen enough from him in big games to put him any higher. I haven't. Will Levis is fine. Will Levis is fine. I think he'll have a solid season. He didn't play much last year. 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Nothing super impressive. And the Dolphins have kind of just been butchered a lot in the last few years. Obviously, Derrick Henry's gone. They have Tony Pollard. They have Ridley. They have Hopkins. They have Boyd. But, again, think about those receivers. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd. Those guys are old. Will Levis, I think I'm going to put Will Levis in C tier. I'm interested to see what he does. Again, at the end of the year, I want to redo this tier list and see how my predictions were. Maybe I don't know ball. I don't know. But I'm putting Will Levis in C tier for now. Kyler, here's my problem with Kyler. Kyler has nothing. Kyler has nothing to work with literally at all. Literally nothing. I mean, what does he have on offense? He got James Conner, an old James Conner. Trey McBride will be good. Marvin Harrison Jr. will be good. But here's why I say he has nothing. Trey McBride's only in his third season, and that's just their tight end. Marvin Harrison could be and probably will be amazing, but they have really not a lot of depth at wide receiver. They've got a lot of C-tier wide receivers. That's the problem. Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Zay Jones, Chris Moore, Zach Pascal. Those are C-tier or below receivers. And Kyler has really not played a whole lot. Plus, the Cardinals are probably the worst team in the league. I'm going to put also Kyler in C tier. I think Kyler will do well, especially with McBride and with Marvin Harrison Jr. The Cardinals are not going to go anywhere. They're going to get last in their division. There's a chance they are the worst team in the league and get the number 1 pick next year. I think they'll be fighting the Panthers and the Giants for that spot. I know. There's already my tier list for where I think teams are going to end up, but we will worry about that later. Jared Goff. Jared Goff is such an anomaly because people do not give Jared Goff enough credit for what he does. I mean, he had almost 4,600 yards last year, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I mean, that is really, really good season. 2022, 29-7. I'm going to put Jared Goff in A tier. I really like Jared Goff. He's got a lot of really good weapons on that offense. Obviously, he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Montgomery and Gibbs in there. His offensive line is really, really good. Probably one of the best O-lines in football. Goff A tier. I think he's kind of low A tier, if I'm being honest, because he's starting to get up there in age. I don't think he's going to get a whole lot better. I really don't. His stats might get better, but when you have better receivers, that's just bound to happen. Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones might be the worst starting quarterback in the league. I know that's a lot. He's fine. He's fine, but he's not any more than fine. Daniel Jones, I'm putting him in D tier. I really am. That's a horrible place for a starting quarterback of a franchise like the Giants to be, but the Giants, the Cardinals, all kind of competing for that number 1 pick again next year. Daniel Jones is not the future of the Giants. He's just not. And their backups are Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito. There's not a lot there. I feel bad for Malik Neighbors. He will either get literally all of their receiving yards or he'll have a bad season. That's just it. T-Law, Trevor Lawrence. I want to pose an honest question here. Is Trevor Lawrence an elite quarterback? Have we really seen enough Trevor Lawrence to say that he's a top-tier quarterback? I mean, last year he had 4,000 passing yards, yes, but he had 21 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. That's not great. That's really not great. It's really not great. 2022 was a solid year. 41-13, 25-8. I am honestly going to put Trevor Lawrence at low B tier. He's not A tier. I think Trevor Lawrence has one of the best potentials to be an A tier quarterback, but I haven't seen enough from him, which is hard to believe, for him to be an A tier quarterback. With some of the other guys that I'm going to put in A tier today, he's not there. He's just not. Like, he's not on the level of Mahomes. I don't think he's better right now than Jared Goff. Like today, August 16th, 2024, he is not better than Jared Goff. Now, come October 16th of this year, he could very easily be better than Jared Goff. Because remember, Jared Goff is going to be back here towards the bottom of A tier. But right now, I don't think he's better. I really don't. I'm probably going to get hate for that. That's my opinion. Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr's a good quarterback. I really think he is. He's also just not, like, doing well in New Orleans. C tier. I don't have a lot to say about Derek Carr. It's Derek Carr. He's fine. Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor's passed any hope he has of being good. He's behind Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers' Achilles does the funniest thing ever, he'll play. But that's, I think, where that ends up. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a really solid quarterback, and I think on the Falcons, he'll do pretty well. I think he'll actually do pretty well. I'm going to go B tier. I do think Penix does get some play this season, especially if Cousins gets injured, which I don't want, obviously. But with Bijan, with Kyle Pitts, with Drake London, with Darnell Mooney on that team, he's got lots of weapons. That offense is going to be loaded with firepower. That defense is young and healthy and ready to go. Kirk Cousins, B tier. Lamar Jackson, up next on the list. This is our next A-tier quarterback, and I know. Why is he not in S tier? And it's like I said before, until Patrick Mahomes really gets taken off of his throne, Mahomes will be the only S-tier quarterback on this list. Lamar, probably second best quarterback in the league, right behind Mahomes. There's a couple guys on here that can make arguments. I'll get to them in due time. But Lamar, A tier. Top of A tier, maybe even A plus tier. But he is not S tier. There's one S tier, and that is Patrick Mahomes. Jordan Love, up next, from the Green Bay Packers. Now, Jordan Love, we all thought, for a long time, he was not the guy. But the Packers, in their miracles, had Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now they have Jordan Love. And Jordan Love, I cannot believe I'm going to say this, I think Jordan Love's A tier. I really do. I'm not a Packers fan by any stretch. I really don't like the Packers. But I have a lot of respect for Jordan Love. Jordan Love's a really solid quarterback, and I think he's going to have an even better year this year now that he started in that system. He's got some really solid low B, high C tier quarterbacks. Not quarterbacks, wide receivers. I am doing a quarterback tier list, and Jordan Love is not throwing to any of these guys, that's for sure. But with Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and then, of course, he's got Luke Musgrave at tight end, and Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon at running back. It's going to be a really, really good offense. Packers will probably make the playoffs again. I think they get second in the division, and Jordan Love will lead them to the playoffs again. One man I did not want to get to on this list because I did not want to rate him, and people are not going to like my rating for Brock Purdy. You guys are ready for this? You're going to hate me for it, but that's how it is. Brock's a B-tier quarterback. I'm sorry. Here's why Brock Purdy is a B-tier quarterback. Because Brock Purdy has probably the best offensive anything of anyone in the league. I mean, if you've got McCaffrey, you've got Elijah Mitchell, you've got Kyle Juszczyk, you got George Kittle, you got Deebo Samuel, not Brandon Ayuk anymore, but he had Brandon Ayuk. Jawan Jennings is there. How do you not be a good quarterback in that system? Jimmy G was a good quarterback in this system. I know, people are tired of the argument that Brock Purdy's a system quarterback. But realistically, we saw it in the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy was not making big plays. He wasn't. Brock Purdy was not the one that was making the plays. He had some big throws. I'll give him that. But he had a lot of short throws. and his offense made a lot of the plays for him. I haven't seen Brock Purdy be the standout guy enough yet to put him at A tier. I will give him this. I think he is top of B tier. Like, he is really high up in this B tier. And he could move up to A tier this season. I'm willing to give that. But I'm partially a Brock Purdy hater, but at the same time, I want this to be objective, and I'm trying to be realistic. And realistically, I don't think Brock Purdy's he's not a top 5 quarterback in the league. He may not even be top 10. And I think my rating will show that he's not top 10. People are going to get a lot of hate for people putting Jared Goff over Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy literally beat Jared Goff in the playoffs. But in terms of quarterbacks, in the postseason, Jared Goff had no interceptions. He had no interceptions. He didn't. What did Brock Purdy have? Last year in the playoffs, he had 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. 3 touchdowns and 1 interception the whole playoffs and went to the Super Bowl? And he only had 3 touchdowns? I didn't realize it was that bad. Only a 61% completion rate, got sacked 4 times. I mean, I got to put him in B tier, guys. I'm sorry. There's more evidence for that. Matt Stafford. I love me some Matthew Stafford. And I am excited to see him back and playing, because he's a really, really solid quarterback. I don't know if his best days are behind him yet. They definitely are. But I want Matthew Stafford to be A tier. I really do. But I got to put him in B tier right now. He could very easily have an A tier season. He's got Cooper Kupp. He's still got Puka. He's got Tyler Higbee, Kyren Williams. There's so much potential here for, again, any of these guys in B tier. They have potential to be A tier or potential to have a bad season, go C tier. B tier is they probably don't belong here, but I can't justify putting them anywhere else. So that's really what this line shows. Justin Herbert, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Justin Herbert. I really don't. I like Justin Herbert. I think he's a good quarterback, but I also think he's overrated a lot. He only had 3,100 passing yards last season, 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But again, B tier. B tier for Herbert. There are not a lot of A tier guys. There's only one S tier guy. And Justin Herbert just kind of falls in this good, not great, yet kind of deal. Zach Wilson, the MILF Hunter himself. The only other S tier. No, I'm just kidding. For that only, yes. But as a quarterback, no, he's down here. Aiden O'Connell, my boy from Purdue, represent. Don't know. We need to see him play more. D tier for now. Good. I think he can be good. He's okay right now. Geno Smith. I want to put Geno Smith in B tier. I really do, but I just don't think I can. Solid year last year. 3,600 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But nothing spectacular. His year before, 2022 season, Geno Smith was, an A tier quarterback. But he's starting to fall apart a little bit. And the Seahawks are not getting much better. If anything, they're getting older. DK's in his 6th season. Tyler Lockett's been there forever. Jackson Smith and Jigba's in his 2nd season. He's really, really good. Again, Seahawks have potential to be good, but I just don't know how Geno's going to do. I'm going to put Geno at the top of C tier. Let's rearrange this a little bit. Jayden Daniels. I think Jayden Daniels is going to have a really good year. Might be hard for a lot of people to hear, but with what the Commanders have done on their offense, picking up Eckler, picking up Ertz, picking up Luke McCaffrey, I mean, this offense is going to be really, really good. Really, really good. And they got some good backups, too. They got Mariota backup. They got Sam Hartman back there. I think Jayden Daniels, I'm still going to put in C tier. It's kind of the curse of being a rookie quarterback. We have nothing to go off of. I think he'll have a really good year. I think he'll end up in B tier by the end of the season. But for right now, C tier. Jalen Hurts, this is one that I really hate to rate, because the Eagles have all the tools to go back to the Super Bowl. Obviously, Jason Kelce retired. Jalen Hurts, I still think Jalen Hurts is an A-tier quarterback. I do. I like Jalen Hurts a lot. So hard to rate. I'm going to put him in B tier, kind of towards the bottom, though, because I just don't know. I don't know. Jalen Hurts is good, not great, even leaning great. But I struggle. Again, B tier is so many good quarterbacks in B tier. But I think that's the difference between, who's in B tier and the jump to A tier and the jump to S tier. As I look at this more and more, I don't know how I feel about Goff being A. I'm going to move Goff down here to the top of B with these guys. Goff has got all these guys really, really close to A tier. But when I also look at the guys that are going to go in A tier, because there's still quite a few down here, there's a pretty decent gap between those guys. Joe Burrow, A tier. Obviously coming off of an injury last year. It'll be interesting to see what he does this year. He'll have his initial 4-game stretch where he's the worst quarterback in the league and people wonder why anybody likes him. Then he'll be good again. This is still the only guy to beat Mahomes in Arrowhead. That puts him in A tier. For me, it really does. And he's just good. He's just a really, really good quarterback. A tier. Deshaun, I don't know. I don't know what to think. Who's their backup? Jameis Winston. Okay. I think Jameis Winston will probably end up taking this ride from Deshaun. I don't think Deshaun has it anymore. I want Deshaun Watson to be a good quarterback more than anything because he's a great quarterback. But with so much lack of playing time the last few years, I'm going to put him in C tier. Bottom of C tier. I don't think he's bad enough for D tier. He just hasn't played enough. I'm going to put him in C tier. AR5, Anthony Richardson. I'm not as high on Anthony Richardson as a lot of people. I'm really not. I know that's also going to get me flack from Colts fans, especially because I live in Indiana. I've been a Colts fan. A good majority of my life, I've been a Colts fan. I'm not as high on him. Because he was injured, I'm going to try and give him some benefit of the doubt here. But at the end of the day, I am going to have to put Anthony Richardson in C tier. I just don't know. I mean, let's look at his games last year. Let's look at his game by game from last season. He only played in 4 games last year. He was solid in those games. I will give him that. But, I mean, he had some solid games, but at the end of the day, can this stupid ad keep popping up? I mean, seriously. I'm tired of that ad. Sorry, guys. You're going to keep seeing that in the video. It's fine. Anthony Richardson, I'm putting C tier. Anthony Richardson will probably jump to B tier, if not even jump to A tier by the end of the year. But for right now, I got to put him in C tier. I just haven't seen enough. Sam Darnold, this is a tough one, so I'm going to bring J.J. McCarthy up here. J.J. McCarthy is injured and out for the season, so I don't necessarily want to hold that against him, but I have to. McCarthy, I am going to go unrated for McCarthy. I'm going to leave him down here just because he's not going to play literally at all this season, so it would not be fair to put him in D tier or in C tier just because we don't know how he was. He looked good, but obviously, we don't know what he's going to do. So he's going to stay unrated. Prayers up for J.J. McCarthy. Hope you get better soon. Sam Darnold, I think, gets hated on too much, but is still C tier. I don't think he's D tier. I really don't. He'll be fine in the Vikings offense, especially because he's got Justin Jefferson. But, yeah, C tier for him. CJ Stroud, obviously. I've got a CJ Stroud jersey on here. I love CJ Stroud. Going to go A tier for him. Him and Jordan Love are right there on that level together. Both had their breakout years last year. And that Texans offense is looking amazing. Joe Mixon, yes, he's starting to get up there a little bit, but can still be solid. Obviously, he's got Dalton Schultz, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. I mean, Stroud can pop off big time this year, and I think he will. Texans will probably win the division. I'm picking the Texans to win the AFC South. And Stroud will be probably a top 5 quarterback in the league by the end of the year. Josh Allen, A tier. There's not much to say here. Josh Allen's an A tier quarterback. He just can't win the big one, which keeps him from S tier. That's blatantly how it is for me. Josh Allen, and he's interception prone. He tries to make way too many aggressive throws, tries to make too much happen, and at the end of the day, he's A tier. He just is. Sorry, he's not on Mahomes' level. He's not. He's just not. And I love Josh Allen. I really do. Dak Prescott, as much as it pains me, I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys more than most teams in the league. It pains me. But objectively, Dak Prescott is A tier. He's an A tier quarterback. Again, it's the postseason that's killing him. I mean, if the Cowboys can't perform in the postseason, he will not eclipse this. But his stats, 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions last season. You cannot argue that. You just can't argue his success. Baker, I like Baker a lot, but C tier. I mean, it's Baker. He's good on the Falcons, not great. Michael Penix, I'm going to put Michael Penix in C tier. I want to see him play a lot. I really want to see Michael Penix get an opportunity to play this year. I think he'll be really good. And then Bo Nix, also up here with, let's get all our rookies over here together. I'm going to throw Bryce Young in here. I'm going to put Drake May up here. Penix, Nix, Daniels, and May, C tier. Caleb Williams, B tier, literally only because I think he has the best system around him the best weapons around him, and he was the best out of college. Number 1 overall pick. I got to put Embiid tier. So this, very controversial, I'm sure, but this is my quarterback tier list for the 2024 season. Let me know in the comments. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Do I not know balls? It's atrocious. This right here, these guys in A tier are not in any order. Any of these guys could be that number 2 to Mahomes today if they wanted to. Same with these guys in B tier. Cousins, Lawrence, Rodgers, Williams are the bottom 4, and then these other 5 are pretty much interchangeable. You could put them anywhere, and they'll be fine. But yeah, that is it for our quarterback tier list for 2024. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I will see you guys in the next one. Running backs coming up next. Have a great night. Peace.